Okay, in this unit, we're going to be focusing on the different body systems found in the human body, how they're related, their parts, how they work together, and lead to overall health of the body. So let's go ahead and get started. Um, all of these different parts that make up the whole of the human body work together, even though they're independent units. They do work together. They are dependent upon each other um, to maintain the whole body system. The different levels of organization that are a part of this body system. We know that cells are the smallest level of organization for the human body. We put a bunch of cells together, we get tissue. Okay, so say we're talking about muscle cells. You have a lot of muscle cells that are put together to form muscle tissue. We can take a lot of muscle tissue and form organs, whether it be the heart. Okay, the heart is one of the primary muscle organs, or organs made out of muscle. Then that can lead into organ systems. We take all of the individual pieces and put them together to function for one particular system. And then all of these different organ systems will complete or finish off the organism. So as a quick review, we know that the cell is the basic unit of structure and function, and then we know that a tissue is just a group of those cells that work for a similar function. Okay, here are the four basic types of cell tissue, or of tissue. You have epithelial, connective, nervous, and muscle tissue. Well, these are the four basic types of tissue. Now we know an organ, well, if you think about the hierarchy we just went through, an organ is going to be made up of tissue that is comprised of cells that function for the same purpose. So an organ is just a lot of these different tissues that are going to work together for a single function, like the heart or lungs or the liver, pancreas. Those are going to be considered organs made up of tissues, and those tissues are going to function for the same, or are going to have perform similar processes for the same function. Now there are 11 body systems or organ systems that are going to be found in the human body. And these 11 systems are what we're going to be focusing on in this unit. So here's the first part: the nervous, skeletal, muscular, integumentary, circulatory, respiratory, and then your digestive, excretory, endocrine, reproductive, and then your immune system. So these are the 11 major systems found in the body. Now, for the human body to function properly, there has to be a level of homeostasis maintained, a stable system maintained within the body. It has to have internal environment stability and have a degree of stability with the outside or external environment. So what you'll have is the different systems working together to maintain homeostasis with the outside environment, using what we call something that is called negative feedback. Right? What happens in negative feedback is you get a stimulus from the outside environment that is going to cause a reaction with some of the systems inside the body to balance or to continue to maintain that equilibrium with the outside environment. For example, if it's cold outside, that cold temperature is going to be the stimulus that's going to cause a response within the body. It's going to cause shivering to keep the body's temperature normal compared to the outside temperature. Alright, so let's get into some of these body systems. We're going to start with the nervous system first. The nervous system is the part of the human body that's going to coordinate all the functions of the body and help the body respond to external stimulus. Okay, so it's going to control and coordinate all of these functions of the body and help maintain that homeostasis with the outside environment. The major structures of the nervous system: you have the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. Okay, now how communication is achieved is through electrical impulses. So the brain using neurons, so neurons are going to be the cells found inside the brain. The cells of the nerves found inside the brain. These neurons are what are going to transmit these electrical impulses, and the electrical impulses are going to carry the information on what's supposed to happen, how each body system is supposed to function, how it should respond to whatever external stimulus is happening around it. So these neurons, these cells, they're going to actually transfer these impulses from neuron to neuron between their ends and beginnings, between the synapse of one and the other, and it's going to use these chemicals, these neurotransmitter chemicals, to help relay or pass these messages. Okay, let's focus on now the basic setup of a neuron. Okay, the neuron is going to have a simple body plan. It's going to have a nucleus. It's also going to have areas where metabolic activity can occur. The area where impulses are going to be passed from the environment to the actual cell body is going to be called the dendrite. The axon is going to carry those impulses away from the cell body, and then your neurons are going to be bundled together to form nerves. So here is a nice picture of, I'll go back, here's a nice picture of your neuron, okay, and you can see the labeled parts. There's the nucleus of the neuron. These dendrites are where impulses from the outside environment or from the environment that it's going to pick up, it's going to transfer those along this myelin sheath. This myelin sheath is coated, it's conductive, so it's allowing for these electrical impulses to travel. And then the axon is where it's going to pass from the neuron, maybe to another neuron, or maybe to an organ system, something like that. Okay, but you get a lot of these neurons bundled together to form your nerves. So a group of nerves for that function to control a particular system is going to be made up of thousands of these little neurons. All right, so that's the cell of the nervous system. Let's start looking at the parts of the nervous system. You have the central nervous system and you have the peripheral nervous system. So your nervous system is broken down into two main categories. The central nervous system contains the brain, and here are the major parts. The cerebrum. Here's where you're going to have voluntary activities controlled of the body. The right side of the cerebrum is going to control the left side of the body, and vice versa. And then also in the cerebrum, this is where you're going to have learning that is going to take place. You're going to have your judgment controlled, where from the things you learn and from drawing conclusions, and you have your judgment, your judgment, your reasoning, and intelligence is all going to be controlled and housed and functioned by the cerebrum. The cerebellum, which is another part of the brain, you notice on the picture you're talking about the back side of the brain right here. So this was the cerebrum, okay, and there are two parts. There's a right side and a left side. Your cerebellum, this back part, this is where balance, muscular control, movement is all going to be function from. So the cerebellum is going to control coordinates, balance, and muscle movement. You have your brainstem. Okay, so you have your brainstem here. The brainstem is where the spinal column or the spinal cord connects to the brain itself. Then your spinal cord itself is where this is the bundle of nerves, where this is the main pathway where all of the activity from the brain functions, control units, everything that happens, all of those, all that information is going to flow through this main branch of nerves, which is the spinal cord. Okay, and then this is the main pathway from the brain to the rest of the body and the rest of the systems. Okay, so let's look at the peripheral nervous system now. The peripheral nervous system are going to be all the nerves that are going to be found outside the central nervous system. Okay, so your central nervous system is your brain. You've got your cerebrum, your cerebellum. You've got some other parts that we didn't necessarily cover, but that is your central nervous system. Your peripheral nervous system are going to be all of those nerves that are not found or housed within the central nervous system. So all of the nerves that flow through this off of the spinal column, that extend through your arms and legs and torso to your fingers and toes. So those are going to be your peripheral nerve. That's going to be part of your peripheral nervous system. This is where sensory and motor control is going to pass. Okay, for your motor part of your peripheral, you have somatic and autonomic nerves that help regulate voluntary versus involuntary functions. So voluntary would be muscle movement. Okay, involuntary, for example, could be your heart beating, and that's not something we control. That's something that occurs involuntary. That's part of your motor sensory of your peripheral nervous system. Breathing, that's not something we control. We do that we do that involuntarily. Blinking, okay, is going to be an involuntary process. Gas exchange. So there's a lot of things that is going to be considered involuntary that's still going to be controlled by the peripheral. Let's look at our senses now. Our sense receptors are located throughout the body, and they're controlled by sense organs. For example, vision is going to be controlled by the eyes. Okay, this is where light, different variations or different varying degrees of light are going to be sensed or recognized by the parts of the eye. You have hearing, so you have your ears, everything from the outer ear that's going to help funnel sound waves into the inner ear, where you have the different bones and you have the hairs that are going to help translate those sound waves through vibrations. It's going to help. The hearing is also going to be tied with balance, okay, and functionality. Then you have your smell sense, which is tied with the nose, tied with those chemicals in the air that are filtered from the nose into the nasal passage, and then that is interpreted by chemical signals that are sent to the brain. So we smell freshly baked chocolate chip cookies, and what we're picking up are the chemicals that are carried by the air that are given off by that particular food, and then we're translating it through chemical impulses that travel from picking up that smell in our nose, and it travels through our brain, and we interpret it as freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. And then taste. Taste, we have taste buds on our tongue. Those taste buds there's different groupings of taste buds found on our tongue. Some are going to register more your salty taste. Some are going to measure your sweet and bitter tastes, okay? And then they all translate through chemical signals to let your brain, or your brain's going to translate it. Once that food hits those taste buds, those chemicals carry that particular signal to the brain, and that's when the brain translates it. And then touch. By far the most surface area covered by a sense is going to be touch, because that's going to be linked with our skin. Everywhere our skin covers, which is everywhere, is going to be linked to nerves that are going to be tied with the sense of touch. More receptors, more of these touch receptors that are found in a particular area, the more sensitive that touch sense will be. And if you've ever noticed, if you've ever had a paper cut, or you've ever smashed a finger by accident, or had a hangnail or something, those tend to hurt pretty bad, and it's because there's a greater number of these touch receptors, sense receptors for touch in our fingers and in our toes than anywhere else in our body, even in our face, okay, because that's linked with most of the other groupings of senses, and so we'll find a lot of those in our face as well.